Money is any item or verifiable record that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services and repayment of debts in a particular country or socio-economic context, or is easily converted to such a form. The main functions of money are distinguished as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, a store of value, and, sometimes, a standard of deferred payment. Any item or verifiable record that fulfills these functions can be considered money. Money is historically an emergent market phenomenon establishing a commodity money, but nearly all contemporary money systems are based on fiat money. Fiat money, like any check or note of debt, is without use value as a physical commodity. It derives its value by being declared by a government to be legal tender, that is, it must be accepted as a form of payment within the boundaries of the country, for all debts, public and private. Such laws in practice cause fiat money to acquire the value of any of the goods and services that it may be traded for within the nation that issues it. The money supply of a country consists of currency and, depending on the particular definition used, one or more types of bank money. Bank money, which consists only of records, forms by far the largest part of broad money in developed countries. Etymology. The word money is believed to originate from a temple of Juno, on Capitoline, one of Rome's 7 hills. In the ancient world, Juno was often associated with money. The Temple of Juno Moneta at Rome was the place where the mint of ancient Rome was located. The name Juno may derive from the Etruscan goddess Union, Moneta, either from the Latin word monere or the Greek word moneres. In the Western world, a prevalent term for coin money has been specie, stemming from Latin in specie, meaning in kind. History. The use of barter-like methods may date back to at least 100,000 years ago, though there is no evidence of a society or economy that relied primarily on barter. Instead, non-monetary societies operated largely along the principles of gift economy and debt. When barter did in fact occur, it was usually between either complete strangers or potential enemies. Many cultures around the world eventually developed the use of commodity money. The Mesopotamian shekel was a unit of weight, and relied on the mass of something like 160 grains of barley. The first usage of the term came from Mesopotamia, circa 3000 BC. Societies in the Americas, Asia, Africa and Australia used shell money, often the shells of the cowrie. According to Airodyssey, the Lydians were the first people to introduce the use of gold and silver coins. It is thought by modern scholars that these first stamped coins were minted around 650–600 BC. The system of commodity money eventually evolved into a system of representative money. This occurred because gold and silver merchants or banks would issue receipts to their depositors, redeemable for the commodity money deposited. Eventually, these receipts became generally accepted as a means of payment and were used as money. Paper money or banknotes were first used in China during the Song dynasty. These banknotes, known as jiaozhe, evolved from promissory notes that had been used since the 7th century. However, they did not displace commodity money, and were used alongside coins. In the 13th century, paper money became known in Europe through the accounts of travelers, such as Marco Polo and William of Rubruck. Marco Polo's account of paper money during the Yuan dynasty is the subject of a chapter of his book, The Travels of Marco Polo, titled, How the Great Khan Causeth the Bark of Trees, made into something like paper, to pass for money all over his country. Banknotes were first issued in Europe by Stockholm's Banco in 1661, and were again also used alongside coins. The gold standard, a monetary system where the medium of exchange are paper notes that are convertible into preset, fixed quantities of gold, replaced the use of gold coins as currency in the 17th–19th centuries in Europe. These gold standard notes were made legal tender, and redemption into gold coins was discouraged. After World War II and the Bretton Woods Conference, most countries adopted fiat currencies that were fixed to the US dollar. The US dollar was in turn fixed to gold. In 1971, the US government suspended the convertibility of the US dollar to gold. After this, many countries depegged their currencies from the US dollar, and most of the world's currencies became unbacked by anything except the government's fiat of legal tender and the ability to convert the money into goods via payment. According to proponents of modern money theory, fiat money is also backed by taxes. By imposing taxes, states create demand for the currency they issue. Functions in money and the mechanism of exchange. William Stanley Jevons famously analyzed money in terms of 4 functions: a medium of exchange, a common measure of value, a standard of value, and a store of value. By 1919, Jevons's 4 functions of money were summarized in the couplet, "Money's a matter of functions 4, a medium, a measure, a standard, a store." This couplet would later become widely popular in macroeconomics textbooks. Most modern textbooks now list only 3 functions, that of medium of exchange, unit of account, and store of value, not considering a standard of deferred payment as it is a distinguished function, but rather subsuming it in the others. There have been many historical disputes regarding the combination of money's functions, some arguing that they need more separation and that a single unit is insufficient to deal with them all. One of these arguments is that the role of money as a medium of exchange is in conflict with its role as a store of value. Its role as a store of value requires holding it without spending, whereas its role as a medium of exchange requires it to circulate. Others argue that storing a value is just deferral of the exchange, but does not diminish the fact that money is a medium of exchange that can be transported both across space and time. The term financial capital is a more general and inclusive term for all liquid instruments, whether or not they are a uniformly recognized tender medium of exchange. When money is used to intermediate the exchange of goods and services, it is performing a function as a medium of exchange. It thereby avoids the inefficiencies of a barter system, such as the coincidence of wants problem. Money's most important usage is as a method for comparing the values of dissimilar objects. Measure of value. A unit of account is a standard numerical monetary unit of measurement of the market value of goods, services, and other transactions, also known as a measure, or standard, of relative worth and deferred payment. A unit of account is a necessary prerequisite for the formulation of commercial agreements that involve debt. Money acts as a standard measure and common denomination of trade. It is thus a basis for quoting and bargaining of prices. It is necessary for developing efficient accounting systems. Standard of deferred payment. While standard of deferred payment is distinguished by some texts, particularly older ones, other texts subsume this under other functions. Standard of deferred payment is an accepted way to settle a debt, a unit in which debts are denominated, and the status of money as legal tender, in those jurisdictions which have this concept, states that it may function for the discharge of debts. When debts are denominated in money, the real value of debts may change due to inflation and deflation, and for sovereign and international debts via debasement and devaluation. Store of value. To act as a store of value, a money must be able to be reliably saved, stored, and retrieved, and be predictably usable as a medium of exchange when it is retrieved. The value of the money must also remain stable over time. Some have argued that inflation, by reducing the value of money, diminishes the ability of the money to function as a store of value. Money supply. In economics, money is a broad term that refers to any financial instrument that can fulfill the functions of money. These financial instruments together are collectively referred to as the money supply of an economy. In other words, the money supply is the amount of financial instruments within a specific economy available for purchasing goods or services. Since the money supply consists of various financial instruments, the amount of money in an economy is measured by adding together these financial instruments, creating a monetary aggregate. Modern monetary theory distinguishes among different ways to measure the money supply, reflected in different types of monetary aggregates, using a categorization system that focuses on the liquidity of the financial instrument used as money. The most commonly used monetary aggregates are conventionally designated M1, M2, and M3. These are successively larger aggregate categories. M1 is currency plus demand deposits, M2 is M1 plus savings accounts and time deposits under $100,000, and M3 is M2 plus larger time deposits and similar institutional accounts. M1 includes only the most liquid financial instruments, and M3 relatively illiquid instruments. The precise definition of M1, M2, etc. may be different in different countries. Another measure of money, MO, is also used. Unlike the other measures, it does not represent actual purchasing power by firms and households in the economy. MO is base money, or the amount of money actually issued by the central bank of a country. It is measured as currency plus deposits of banks and other institutions at the central bank. MO is also the only money that can satisfy the reserve requirements of commercial banks. Market liquidity. Market liquidity describes how easily an item can be traded for another item, or into the common currency within an economy. Money is the most liquid asset because it is universally recognized and accepted as the common currency. In this way, money gives consumers the freedom to trade goods and services easily without having to barter. Liquid financial instruments are easily tradable and have low transaction costs. There should be no spread between the prices to buy and sell the instrument being used as money.